We are almost there. So our next session is training and capacity building. I would like to introduce Dr. Alan Eberhard. As a professor and associate chair of education, Dr. Eberhard oversees all activities related to undergraduate and graduate education in the Department of Biomedical Engineering at UAB. Over 30 years, he has been highly active in teaching, research, and service in the School of Engineering at UAB. He has been a productive researcher in orthopedic injury biomechanics at UAB and is the director of the Experimental Biomechanics Core. And he's the director of the training, like mentioned earlier. And I would also like to introduce Dr. Shivyogi Hiremath and Dr. Byron Lai. I'm not going to give any details about them because that is what you're going to hear from their presentation. We are so proud to say they are like a very successful alumni of RERCTech. So Dr. Shivyogi Hiremath, he was a pre-doc in RERCTech 2, and Dr. Byron Lai, he was a pre-doc in RERCTech 3, and you will hear about their journey. Off to you, Dr. Eberhard.
Okay, thank you very much, Sangi. Should I turn on my video or no?
Yes, please.
All right. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm here to present training future engineers to empower people with disabilities to exercise. Next slide, please. So our approach is to take an interdisciplinary team-based approach to engineering training. And in that context, we do design of exercise devices and devices related to exercise for persons with disabilities. So we do this in the context of undergraduate design, our capstone design, which is a one-year experience in biomedical engineering, in which we involve business students where possible. Typically, we have 10 to 12 projects per year, and about half of those revolve around assistive technologies of some form. We also do BME honors research in this area. And then I was fortunate to lead a Master of Engineering in Design and Commercialization. And we also train students through our Master of Science, which is a thesis-based program in biomedical engineering. Next slide, please. So I thought I would just show you some examples of projects and how they relate to exercise technologies for people with disabilities. This was a project with Dr. Chen Lin out of UAB Hospital, and he was looking to monitor rehab from a distance. And so the students came up with a project that involved using inertial measurement units, IMUs, to collect the arm motion data, position, velocity, and acceleration. That data was sent via Bluetooth to a mobile app where the clinician or therapist could essentially keep track of what was happening. And in that process, then they would be able to make the measurements listed there. And if Sangi, if you can click the button, then my next bit of information will appear. It's not the next slide, but it's just almost. Okay, so there, basically, again, the goal is to provide the therapist data on compliance and to monitor their activities. So this is an example of an honors project. Actually started as a senior design, wasn't real successful as a senior design, but then a student named Joe Moore entered into my life, who happened to be an electrical engineer and a drummer. And being a drummer myself, we quickly became friends and started talking about an opportunity for him to take on this parapercussion device. And essentially the idea was that if you ever watch a drummer play the drums, they typically sweat and you know, it's a great exercise opportunity. So the idea was to create a drum set that could encourage people with disabilities to drum. And Joe came in and advanced the device itself and also added a haptic headband for use by persons with visual impairments. And Joe Moore has subsequently been hired into the UAB EITD following his involvement with Sam Misko during a RERCTech conference. So that was a happy ending for all. Next slide, please. This is another example of a project that advanced from senior design to a master's project. So it started as a wheelchair scale. This was a lakeshore project with Matt Ford that we're looking for an affordable way for people to weigh themselves in a wheelchair. At the time that we started this project, there was nothing on the market for less than about $1,500. So we set out to make one that was affordable. We targeted $250 as the sales price. We built the first device, and then Brandon Sherrod came in as a master's and worked on the project and advanced the project to do a better job at what it did, including sending information via Bluetooth to a phone app. We published a manuscript in assistive technology around these activities, and Brandon Sherrod actually went on to go to UAB Medical School. Next slide, please. So this project then continued into a Master of Engineering project where I had the whole engineering team. We had about 7 students at the time work together on what we called the Mach 2 design. We built 10 scales and made them look pretty slick, as you can see in the picture to the left. And we gave those devices to Dr. Brooks Wingo at UAB Lakeshore Research Collaborative, who used them in her NIH study looking at weight management among wheelchair users with spinal cord injuries. Next slide, please. Another example of a master's project. This is one that is currently ongoing. We call it the MotoGator. It was essentially a exercise device developed for a child with level 4 CP. You can see the image in the middle. That child was named Trip, and his mother, Kate, came to us asking us to develop a device that would allow for Trip, who could not walk in any capacity, to be put in a walking position and ambulate. And so Andres Guerrero, who was a student from Ecuador, who did the Master of Engineering, he came in and built this device. So you see the CAD rendering at left and the early prototype in the center where he was testing it on Trip with his mom's supervision. And then the final device, which is shown on the right. The student who is standing in the picture at the right, that is Ez Abu Hussein. He worked on the project also and did a bit of computational modeling using OpenSim for us to understand how this device would function under a variety of conditions. Andres, big success story, got hired as a rehabilitation engineer at Blythedale Children's Hospital in New York. So he is living his dream, what he always wanted to do, and what we hoped he would do when he got out. Ez, on the other hand, moved on to do a PhD in rehabilitation sciences, I believe, at the University of Tennessee in Memphis. Next slide, please. And the MotoGator continued. We began working with Drs. Chris Hurt and Dave Brown, developing an adult-sized version of this device for adults post-stroke. And one of the key features of the later version of the original MotoGator, as well as this adult-sized version, was the ability to freewheel, where the user can take over the device and pedal against resistance. And we designed the device so that we could also allow the user to encounter differential resistance, so different levels of resistance for each leg in the context of working with people post-stroke. The person in the picture there is John Easton. He got his master's through this project as well. And he has been hired on as an engineer for Blocks in Birmingham, which is a company that makes modular medical equipment. And he loves it, and he was trained very well. So he's doing very well. And we currently have an NSF Partnership for Innovation proposal pending. We're hoping to hear very soon. If we get this money, then we will take this device into Dr. Hurt's lab and do essentially a user set of user studies to see how well this device is actually performing and how well it will work for people with a variety of conditions, including post-stroke. And I believe that's it for me. Thank you. Continue to the next slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Eberhard. Off to you, Dr. Harmat.
Hello, Sangi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Shiv Harmath. I'm a faculty at Temple University in Philadelphia, and today I'm presenting my topic on developing and evaluating M-Health technologies for individuals with spinal cord injury. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. James Rimmer, Sangi, Mohan for giving me this opportunity to present my work. So I started, this is the first slide where if you can please press down a bit. So this is an evaluation of a SenseWare activity monitor system, which is a project that I started with RERCRec2 back with Dr. Dan Ding at the University of Pittsburgh. And in this particular project, what we did between years 2007 and 2012 is to develop algorithms for activity monitors that were available on the market for people with disabilities. So we try to evaluate how these activity monitors are able to perform in individuals who use wheelchairs and develop algorithms to estimate physical activity in wheelchair users as compared to a criterion measure. Next slide, please. Following this work, what we did, I got a Switzer fellowship from Neidler. Thank you to Neidler. And also a project that my advisor, Dr. Dan Ding, had. We were able to, this is similar to building on what Dr. Alan Eberhard showed. We developed a physical activity monitor system between the years 2011 till 2015, where we integrated information from the upper extremity arm movement and the wheel rotation monitor to capture their physical activity monitoring in the lab and in the community. Next slide, please. Next slide. So after finishing my PhD and my postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Pittsburgh, I got an opportunity to work in two different departments in Pittsburgh, and then I came to Temple University as an assistant professor. I was very curious to take our technology into the community. There was a pilot funding opportunity from Craig H. Nielsen Foundation, so we're lucky to obtain this grant, and this is a collaboration between Maggie, Moss, and Northeastern University, where we try to take this technology into the community to do a feasibility study, and we were able to recruit 20 individuals with spinal cord injury in the community for 3 months, where we tracked their activity levels and provided just-in-time adaptive intervention. So basically, as they were doing their physical activity, our system could detect their activity and provide appropriate feedback and intervention. Next slide, please. And this particular project has led us to getting a field-initiated project, a development project, to improve engagement of these types of interventions with friends or family members with individuals with spinal cord injury. So this is just completed its first year. We presented our results at the American Congress for Rehabilitation Medicine. We are still working on the participatory aspects of this research study, and we will try to incorporate this information into the app that we plan to develop in the coming year and test it in the third year in individuals with disabilities in the community. Next slide, please. And again, this is a collaboration. The project has also led us to get an R01 from National Institutes of Health, where I'm collaborating, thanks to, again, Dr. Rimmer for allowing us to build our, to utilize Nick Pad's work, and to Mohan for being a great collaborator on this project, where we will try to use our technology. We will try to add it on to see if we can engage individuals with spinal cord injury for multiple weeks in the community to perform physical activity. Again, thank you very much for this opportunity to present what I have been doing. I feel like it's a full circle where I have started with RERCTech, and then I'm again connecting to RERCTech to do our work. And next slide, please. These are the collaborators. These are the students in the lab who make the work possible. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm open to taking them now.
Thank you, Shiv.
Thank you. Thank you.
Byron, you're next.
Hello, everyone. It looks like the host stopped my video.
Hey, it was not me.
Yeah, there we go. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here and a pleasure. My name is Byron. I'm an assistant professor in the Division of Pediatric Rehabilitation Medicine. And I'm here today to talk about my transition from being a RECTech student into now where I'm at, and how the research I participate in RECTech has really transferred into my current research focus, which is to integrate technology to scale up exercise trials, particularly for children with disabilities at the Children's Hospital of Alabama. And so very quickly, this all started with a scholarship in my master's program at the California State University, Northridge, a very prestigious scholarship where I got to choose anywhere in the world, any research laboratory to go and do a summer internship. And it was fully funded. And out of all places, I chose UAB, Lakeshore Foundation, and RECTech because my passion is video gaming and telehealth. And so as you've heard from today, all these wonderful projects, the fit was just perfect. Next slide, please. And so I finished my PhD in 3 years, did a postdoc in the same position doing similar work. And then I transitioned into a second postdoc where I transitioned from doing telehealth and exercise for adults towards children with disabilities in the Children's Hospital of Alabama. And apparently I did well enough where they decided to hire me on as assistant professor in the same position. Next slide, please. And so once again, the research line transferred really linearly from teleexercise into teleexercise and more so active video gaming when it came to the pediatric population. And I'll get into that in the next few slides. Next slide, please. And so we've done several community projects and research projects within just the past couple of years. Very excited about the virtual reality gaming projects. We did a group exercise, a virtual reality gaming project during the height of the pandemic. It was the funnest thing I did all year. Me and a Lakeshore Foundation instructor met with a group of 10 kids and we played VR together and got some serious exercise in at the same time. Fantastic. And we also did a case study project, which is the publication on the top right, where we actually demonstrated that kids with spina bifida could achieve 200 minutes of objectively measured moderate intensity exercise independently, non-supervised, using this adapted exercise protocol and system we created. Next slide, please. Very quickly, this is one of the case participants. His mom sent me these pictures. She was so ecstatic after the 1-month exercise program that she sent me this pre and post pictures I did not request, and she gave me full permission to use. Left is the picture of him before the program, right is post, and she said he went down 1 to 2 t-shirt sizes. Unfortunately, we didn't measure any objective data, and that's actually what we're excited to continue, the research line. We're excited to continue moving forward, and we have an NIH R03 pending under NICHD. Next slide, please. Now, in addition to the community-based projects, we've also conducted several feasibility projects within various rehabilitation sectors within the Children's Hospital. And we've demonstrated that using adaptive software and adaptive virtual reality exercise gaming protocol, we're actually able to get kids all the way in outpatient and in inpatient rehab participating in virtual reality gaming therapy, but also even in the intensive care unit. So that big picture on the right side is actually a kid who was in the intensive care unit within his first week of stay. And he was able to participate in virtual reality boxing at a moderate intensity of exercise, objectively measured. And this was really fantastic because he was non-responsive to therapy and non-engaged. And he was supine all day. You know, he went through a traumatic event. And so the therapists were so surprised by this. They're the ones who just shot this video footage just kind of on a whim. Next slide, please. So this work is picking up major headway in press around campus. Next slide. This was just to show some pictures of the work that's going on. Next slide, please. Yep. And very quickly, we're also translating the Movement to Music program for kids with disabilities from our adult-based program that Dr. Rimmer created as well. We also examined the impact of COVID-19 on adolescents with cerebral palsy in our state. And as Nick had reported earlier, unfortunately, exercise levels are at an alarming level right now, as well as mental health. And so these are two public health issues we have to address. Very quickly, this is just some of the work we've done in just this short month or this short 6 months since I've transitioned into faculty. Next slide. And I always like to end with this slide, but research is always about advancing scientific knowledge, but I always like to keep this slide in the back burner because I really like to believe that research is about the people we help as well. And so every time we help someone through an intervention or program, I always add it to this sheet here. And this is just the work I've been a part of, not all the other amazing projects that you've heard today. But next slide, please. And thank you, and I'm open to any questions you might have.
Thank you, Byron.